Something I've learned in recent months is that everybody that watches professional wrestling has their own way of evaluating, their own star system. And it really comes down to what makes you pop, what gets you excited when watching professional wrestling. When I look at Survivor Series War Games 2024, I see a roughly 4.5 star PLE from my perspective for what makes me excited as a pro wrestling fan. And you guys, if you've been around for a little bit, you recognize that I am pretty heavily story driven. I'm really more invested in what the characters do and their actual character development more than I'm into the actual in-ring talent. Now, don't get me wrong, there's in-ring talent that can make me overlook their character when they're just that good. But primarily speaking, I look at a show like this and I go, the storylines that I'm invested in got moved. And it wasn't a perfect show, and we'll get to that. But overall, this was a fantastic show to me. This was one of my favorite PLEs of the year, but I feel like that's expected. This is supposed to be a top 4 PLE with the WWE. I want to kick this off by asking a specific question about something that happened before War Games, just because I didn't get to make a video on it, and I just want to know what your opinion is. So feel free to add this into the comments, add it on to anything else you may have to say about the show. What do you think Paul Heyman's favor to CM Punk is going to be? Now that we have the hindsight and we actually have seen that it worked out, CM Punk did hold up his end of the deal and did help Roman's bloodline take down Solo's bloodline. I would love to hear some theories. I would love to hear some potential predictions of where and when you think CM Punk is going to cash in this favor, now that we know for sure that CM Punk has successfully helped Roman Reigns, and they kind of seemed like they ended on decent terms. We'll talk more about the men's match in a little bit, but let's go right down the line here. Let's start with the women's War Games match that kicked off the show. Now, this is only my second year watching just pro wrestling in general, but it's only my second War Games PLE. And I have learned already that War Games matches are just massive spot fests. Now, I recognize that the lead up to this particular match, it was kind of rushed. The names that were thrown together in this one, it just felt like an all-star game. It just felt like they were plucking the big names they could think of that they wanted to put in this match and just see what they did. And that's kind of what happened. But I feel like when you put that good of a list together of names, I feel like I can overlook the story a little bit and just be excited that they're going to put together something that's truly worth watching. And that's exactly what we got. First and foremost, oh my God, mommy. Rhea Ripley's outfit, the mask and her makeup when she took off the mask with the cut over the eye. Dude, Rhea Ripley, that's my nomination for outfit, costume, whatever you want to call it, of the year. If you can find any other person, any other wrestler that has had a cooler outfit for a special event like that, please tell me in the comments. I'll look it up, I'll compare it, but I'm telling you, that might have been the coolest overall apparel I've ever seen. In terms of, still usable in the ring, I've seen some really cool pre-match stuff, like just for entrances, but the fact that she went in at the actual match in that full thing, including the mask with the horns, that was sick. And it wasn't the only thing that was awesome, because throughout that match, yeah, Tiffany Stratton, Io Sky, two people that you know and expect to do some high-flying cool stuff, they did the double moonsault, or one of them did the moonsault. Io did the moonsault with the trash can again, and Tiffany Stratton was the one on the other side trying to time it, which that's fair. It's not like Io can see Tiffany to time it. Tiffany did like a swanton bomb into a crowd. It was pretty cool. The women, I feel like, put on a pretty good show, all things considered. And what I mean by that is, yeah, there wasn't a lot of opportunity for a really good story to be told here, because there just wasn't a ton of build for it. And speaking of which, the whole thing with Jade being removed prior to the PLE, I feel like there's not really anything that Bayley did in that match that Jade couldn't. I just want to throw that out there. So anybody saying that Jade got pulled because she couldn't handle that match or doing a match that long, A, she could have entered later if that was the problem, but B, I don't think, from what I saw, Bayley didn't exactly do anything. Bayley's one of my favorites, so I'm not talking crap here, but I watched fairly closely, and Bayley, I don't feel like did anything super supreme that Jade couldn't have done. So I really think that it was just a storyline thing, and it's just going to be a part of a story. And I don't really care for all the people that are saying that Jade got cut because she just wasn't good enough to be in the War Games, so she was written into an injury just to avoid looking bad. I don't know. I think that's silly. I really do think this would have been a cool opportunity for the Money in the Bank cash in, though. At this point, if you're not going to use it, don't tease it. I'm not a fan of the bringing out the briefcase and making whoever's holding the briefcase just kind of look incompetent. They did the same thing with Damien, and now they're doing with Tiffany Stratton, where her character didn't really show much of any of these qualities before she had the briefcase. But now, anytime the briefcase is like within range of her, she kind of gets extra ditzy and doesn't really know the right way to. It's a little bit weird, and it doesn't do anything good for me when it comes to like character development. By the way, I was streaming a watch along for this, but I know that's not for everybody. If you just want to be in a community where you can be a fan of all of wrestling, not just WWE, but New Japan, TNA, AEW, and you want a spot where you can chat along with other fans and just kind of enjoy the show, join the Discord. Just join the Discord. We have some dedicated channels specifically for while the shows are going on. So you have some people to chat with if you just want to have someone to bounce an opinion or celebrate with. I know watching wrestling by yourself can kind of suck because you don't have anyone to talk to about it. So join the Discord. It's a great community. There's no tribalism or anything. It doesn't last whenever it makes its way in. So yeah, hop into the Discord. Next up was LA Knight and Shinsuke Nakamura. And I know some of you are going to say you called it, but you got to admit, even if you thought it was going to happen, you didn't think it was going to happen. Shinsuke Nakamura pulls off I'm going to call it an upset because in today's day and age of wrestling, it seems like the long title reigns is what's expected. And it would have felt like LA Knight would be the protected one because of how popular he was when he was coming up. He finally got his title. You would think he's going to be in line for a long title reign, which I'm not saying he's not going to get the title back, but man, it is cool to see a title flip like this. And we just saw it recently with the IC title between Braun Breaker and Jay. It's cool to see these mid-card titles get a little bit more freedom to move from wrestler to wrestler. Shinsuke comes in with like this samurai helmet and this whole look. That the theme has evolved again. It changed on SmackDown and it changed even more at Survivor Series. I love the new theme. I think it is a really cool like homage, dark version of the original. I love the original. I think the original is fantastic. And you don't have to think the new one is better. You can just acknowledge that the new one is just a cool rendition and a cool version that fits his current character. And one of the little things is I feel like it's changed enough where it almost discourages people to sing along with it. It's tougher to sing along to, which I think is kind of what you want with your heel. You don't want the crowd vocally being able to back them on entrance. But it's weird. LA Knight came out there, and I'm telling you, the crowd didn't really pop for him that much. They actually, when they cut to LA Knight's entrance before his theme actually hit, they were showing the decibel reader before he actually hit his music. And when it hit, it didn't shoot up that much. I really think they were expecting the Canadian crowd to have this massive pop for LA Knight. Didn't happen. It was a pretty normal pop. It was just, I was actually kind of surprised by it. I don't know. Do you think the LA Knight like era is kind of fizzling? Is what made him exciting? Is this the typical situation where a babyface chasing the title is the only time the IWC or the wrestling fandom cares about them? But once they have the title, they're like, okay, I want something new to play with. I'm curious what you think. Another thing I noticed with LA Knight is it doesn't seem like he can hit these rope spots anymore. It seems like every time he does the move where he runs up to the rope and tries to jump and land on the top ropes, he's just not hitting anymore. But to be fair, I had some people in the live stream telling me that maybe this is kind of part of Shinsuke getting in his head and it's kind of throwing him off. I would love to believe that. I would love to believe that him missing this rope today was, that was part of a story, but he's been doing it a lot through recent weeks. So I feel like that'd be more believable if he had always been hitting it, but it just seems like maybe that's a little bit too much for his moveset right now. I don't know. He was hitting it just fine before he was champion, so this is just weird. I thought the match was really cool. It was really fun, and when the actual 3 count happened for Shinsuke, I was hype. Like, this felt like something he actually truly needed because the character that he came back with was so recent, and it was so cool, it was so dark, and it was so mysterious that him just going out and losing clean to LA Knight, I feel like it would have killed it right on Arrival. I just don't feel like you can come back that badass and then just lose clean, so it was really cool to see him get that win. I don't know what his first promo is going to be like. I will say, overall, enough things happened in this show that I am really excited for Raw. On a side note, if you're not already on the Patreon, I highly recommend you check it out at this point. It couldn't be a better time. We're putting out so many watch-alongs. Me and my fiance Tally do watch-alongs on the Patreon of a bunch of old matches that you guys submit. Any patron can watch all of the watch-alongs, but the higher tier patrons actually get to pick every single month which matches we go through and which ones we watch. It's been a great way for her and I to learn wrestling, learn the history of a lot of these wrestlers, and see a bunch of wrestlers that we've never actually heard of before, but now we understand references that we didn't. Tally and I also have a podcast that goes there every month that you guys get to participate in if you choose to. The Patreon is just an extremely active and close-knit community at this point, and I invite you to check it out. The link will be down below. Let's go back to the video. Next up was the triple threat match for the IC title. You got Braun Breaker, Ludwig Kaiser, and Sheamus. I already love Braun Breaker. I really love Ludwig Kaiser, especially his character just in general. I think he's fine in the ring, nothing like too spectacular, but I think he's good. It's his character that I'm really in love with. Sheamus is someone that I've had trouble getting behind, but you know, some of the Patreon matches that we watched together and actually getting to see him in some more live matches is kind of starting to grow on me. And going into this match, I had heard some mumblings about, you know, it'd be really cool if he won because he'd be a Grand Slam champion. I did not know what that meant. Shout out to the people in the live chat during the live stream that you guys kind of explained that it's winning one of every type of men's title, including a tag title, actually. So at that point, I was already starting to root for him, but I didn't see a world where Braun Breaker was going to lose here, as cool as it would have been. But the match itself was good. The match itself was just continuous. I loved how much it actually included Ludwig Kaiser. I was a little bit worried that Kaiser was going to be the kind of one to take all the bumps. Now, I do wish he would have gotten a little more offense off because Sheamus was made to look really good offensively. He had some really close moments where, for instance, when he had Braun Breaker miss him, Braun Breaker spears a chair that was set up in the corner. Sheamus comes back with a knee, and you actually kind of had me. That was a really cool spot where he goes for the 3 count and Kaiser pulls the ref. That was a very believable, not 3 count, but a very believable close call or near fall. In terms of just pure in-ring talent and just the actual match itself, I think this was up there with maybe number 1 or number 2 on the night. Unsurprisingly, Braun Breaker does retain, but I do think this is leading to a more ongoing feud, especially between Braun Breaker and Sheamus. I hope this doesn't end up leaving out Kaiser because I really like seeing him doing his own thing and getting a title opportunity. I think that's really cool for him. Next up was Damien Priest versus Gunther, and I was really excited for this match. I was at SummerSlam in Cleveland, and that was one of my favorite matches of the night. I thought they did really well there. This just felt like a lower tier repeat of that match. Now, the match itself was fine. There was nothing crazy that happened. There were some cool moments. Damien Priest was showing some versatility, did a little bit of high fly. Not high fly, but you know what I mean, where I think the thing where you wrap the legs around him on the top rope and whip him down. I think it's the Hurricane Rana. That was a cool thing to see from him. He was getting some opportunities to look really strong by actually lifting Gunther over his head. I thought that was cool. And I've really bought into this recent storytelling mechanism with Gunther, this whole confidence being lost as a powerful champion. I think that actually really suits the Gunther character. I think it's cool. I think it's cool that he's got this dominant exterior, but it's the internal battle that he's struggling with. And I do actually kind of like the finish, but I don't love that it was exactly the same pretty much as SummerSlam. It's more so, it's not that I like the actual execution, but I like the idea. I do like the idea that somebody he did not ask to help him ended up helping him, even though Finn wasn't really helping Gunther, he was hurting Damien. I do like the idea that somebody outside of Gunther's control affected the match, because then he can't really get that confidence back. And I think that's something that I'm enjoying see eat away at his character, where he lost to Sami Zayn. His last match that didn't have interference was with Cody, and he lost that match completely cleanly. So for him to not be able to get this done cleanly, and I think that's why you saw Gunther actually kick Finn Balor outside of the ring, it felt like Gunther was just fed up, and he knew that that was going to be something that was going to make him feel less satisfied with this win. But again, I don't love that it was just Finn Balor going out there and essentially doing the same thing. It didn't really get a pop for me. It was kind of like oh, okay, yeah, I see where we're going here. I'm not saying I have a better idea of who should have come out to interfere with it, but I don't know. Maybe it would have been an opportunity to have Kaiser come help and then Gunther get mad at Ludwig for helping him. I don't know. We'll see where they go from it. But the bottom line is I do enjoy that Gunther is going to continue to have this internal struggle with his confidence. As for Damien, I don't really know what you do from here. I don't know if he'd want another rematch. At this point, him going after Gunther a third time just because the last two were both ending the same way with Finn, I don't think it'd be tough to get hype behind that, a third round between them. But let me know what you guys think. I don't really know what you do with Damien here. I don't really know what he can go on to do unless this is just going to set up Damien versus Finn for like the Rumble or something like that. Maybe he's just going to leave. Yeah, that actually makes a little more sense. Let's talk about the main event. And like I said at the beginning of the video, we all have our own way of perceiving and rating things. This was a 5-star finish for me. And maybe that'll help give you an indication of what's important to me if you are new here. I feel like I've made it relatively clear in previous videos, but this was all about the storytelling. This was all about the bloodline. And I thought the way that they handled it was damn near perfect. I love that there was an issue at the start. I love that CM Punk and Roman were just not getting along to kick it off. There was the issue of them being in the cage and Roman trying to dictate who was going to go out next. CM Punk, basically saying, "Nah, I'm going to go, not you." It was cool to see the issue between them to kick it off. Then a little bit into the match, everybody's down on the ground. Roman helps everyone except for CM Punk back on their feet. So it looked like you were going to get some sort of a clash at some point. Maybe it would cause them to lose. But when it comes to that struggle in particular, it ends up being CM Punk who is the one to reach out across the aisle and make some sort of peace by rescuing Roman from being put through not just a table, but through the entire mat from a tsunami from Bronson Reed. That was absolutely incredible. By the way, I hope Bronson's okay, but for him, a dude that size to basically do a full splash just onto a table, no one to break their fall, Bronson Reed has absolutely earned main event status, and I won't hear from anyone who's saying otherwise. But I really want to talk about the CM Punk grabbing Roman moment. This was something, there was no real reason for CM Punk to do that. There was no real motivation for CM Punk to do that except to help Paul Heyman, to fulfill a request, a favor from Paul Heyman. And this is where I want to come back to the actual favor that Paul is going to owe CM Punk. This gives me an indicator that CM Punk really values this favor that he's going to be getting from Paul Heyman. He could have easily just stood there and let Roman get put through the Earth's core at that point. He would have been done for the match. And even after Roman was kind of mistreating him early in the match, CM Punk still chose to do that. He saw that there was value in making sure that he successfully fulfilled his end of the bargain with Paul Heyman. And it just makes me extremely curious that what favor would be so strong that would cause him to want to do that. And I think that's something that's really fun as fans to discuss and kind of a fantasy book down in the future. But in terms of the rest of the match, I thought the Usos looked fantastic. I loved seeing them do tag moves again together. The 1D was cool. The double super kicks together was cool. Jimmy trying to do what Jay does, where he kind of goes like this before like a slap to the face. I'm not describing it very well, but all of that was very cool seeing them together. Jacob Fatu was another one that really stood out in this match. The no-selling from Fatu is becoming something that I kind of look forward to, where it feels like everyone's getting their butt kicked and then he's the last one to get hit. So the person who hit him celebrates a little bit, but don't see that Fatu is standing behind them and looking all crazy. I love that. But the last moment that actually was giving me goosebumps, I was getting chills watching it, was the last just 2 or 3 minutes of the match, maybe about 2 minutes of the match after the tsunami splash. There was a moment where Roman Reigns was showing a little bit of a new side of him. I don't think I'm reading too far into this, but seeing Roman Reigns look at Solo, seeing Solo's army completely depleted behind him, Roman Reigns could have easily gone for the kill shot. He could have easily, it was 5v1 standing right there. A previous Roman Reigns, I don't think would have hesitated but to go for the kill. Roman Reigns essentially extended an arm and saying like, hey, Solo, here's your exit. Here's your chance. Acknowledge me as the tribal chief. I think that's a really cool indicator that there is a part of Roman that would take Solo back. There is a part of Roman that maybe looks at the team he's working with right now. Maybe he likes how it feels. Maybe he likes the old days. Maybe he does like the old team back. And he saw Solo and goes, Solo was a part of that. Here's your chance. Like, be my dude again. He wasn't really that graceful with it. Wasn't like super polite about it. But there was a brief moment where he was given the opportunity to surrender instead of just taking him out. And oh my God, like the Secret Service, as soon as Solo showed to be a sign of a threat, Jey Uso jumped on that and super kicked that man in the jaw within a quarter of a second. I went back and I watched it like 2 or 3 times. It was really cool seeing Jey Uso be the one to have the quick reaction to defend Roman as soon as he saw Solo was not going to take it, was not going to take Roman's offer rather. Then there was the whole sequence where everybody got to do like their finisher. There was the Jimmy and Jay did their thing first. They gave the opportunity for Sammy to hit the haluva kick. CM Punk hits the go to sleep, which sends Solo stumbling into an ooh-wah spear from Roman to end the match. I loved that finish. I loved that match. I think I got too excited during it. I'm kind of feeling I'm losing my voice a little bit recording this after. Oh, I don't want to overlook this. Jimmy Uso looked fantastic in that match. I'm really glad they gave him his own entrance. That was earned. Jimmy Uso actually really stepped up in that match. He did the Uso splash from the top of the War Games cage. He absolutely carried his own weight and showed that he wasn't just an extra piece and he wasn't the background character of this group. He really showed that he was one of the guys and he was one of the boys and he was one of the people on that team that could deliver, that could actually hang with like the whole main event crew thing. So shout out Jimmy Uso there. I thought the entire event was fantastic with only a little bit of spots that could have been better like we already talked about. I'm really looking forward to Saturday night main event. I'm really looking forward to the Netflix debut of Raw. We have some really cool stuff going on in the world of the WWE over the next month or so. So I think it's just a really fun time to be a WWE fan right now. I'm really curious to know what you think of this, answer some of those questions or throw in any opinions you may have below. Please don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you already haven't. Thank you so much for watching the video all the way through. And thank you to the patrons flying up the screen. I will see you all in the next one.